Alrighty. Hello, welcome to the People Connect podcast. I greatly appreciate you being here today. I am so excited as I'm always excited, but I have a special guest here that is going to educate us on how to get educated for free. We always love the free, so I got some information for you to help execute that. I'm Nichelle, your host with the People Connect podcast. Again, greatly appreciate you being here. We bring you that news you can use to help you start, market, grow, and profit in your business and in your life. Today's episode is brought to you by myself. I sponsored my own podcast today. Yes, I did. And you can go over to Instagram at Nichelle Womack. Click the link in the bio, and you can get my online playbook guide. Yes, the guide will help assist you in navigating your way through social media. So if you are an up and coming social media person, or if you're a business owner and you have not tackled the phenomenon of social media, this guide will help lead and guide and direct you to the paths that you need to go to get there. So again, go over to at Nichelle Womack on Instagram. In fact, if you're not following me there, you need to go over there and connect with me, because I drop gems every day. I engage with my audience. I assist you and help you to up level to your next level, so that there's no question why you're not reaching those goals for 2021. Today's guest is Miss Crystal Goliday, and I'm so excited to introduce her because the information she's going to provide, I have my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, we're finishing up this PhD degree. None of it was free. So I'm really intrigued. When I saw her bio or her page, I saw you somewhere. I can't remember where I saw you. I'm like, I need to get this lady on my podcast to help my audience to kind of, figure out and navigate, because we know college is so expensive. Crystal grew up in an inner city like myself, and her love for math and science, with the world of math and science. She's a native of New York City. She comes from humble beginnings, and she was known as the cool nerd. I wasn't known as the cool nerd, but I understand where you're coming from with that. She frequented Empower programs such as YAC, which is Youth Activities Committee, the TNT, Today's New Talent, Project Esteem, the National Honor Society, and the Brainiac Clubs. Okay, girl got some background here, all right? She's also an honor roll student in high school. She was an honor roll student in high school. Crystal learned the secret sauce to earning her BS, her MS, and her MBA via the full ride scholarship to a prestigious university, plus more funding sources. Now, I know in the African American community, we lack that knowledge. So Crystal's going to drop those gems for you today as well. In college, Crystal's activities did not stop as she joined the Gamma Epsilon chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So I just
Greek love.
got that Greek love going on. She was also active in the Society of Women Engineers, Institute for Electrical and Electronics. She also was in the excuse me, my computer went out here for a second, the Bicultural Inter-Greek Council and the National Society of Black Engineers. She's passionate about what she does, giving back. Miss Goliday is also the founder of the Never Underestimate Knowledge, which is a 501c C3, nonprofit organization that provides resources to inner city youth and domestic violence survivors. Wow. Now she has added the title of author to her resume of accomplishments to help numerous generations to not only expand their education, but free up their finances to excel in other areas in their lives. Additionally, she started a consulting business to help scholars along their journey to go through college. Crystal offers one-on-one consulting, monthly membership group, and a variety of topics that she speaks about to groups, schools, companies, and organizations. Crystal is a lover of life, wellness, her husband, and her prince. Mrs. Goliday resides in Washington, D.C. Welcome, peace and blessings, Miss Crystal Goliday. Thank you so much for being here at the People Connect podcast.
Thank you for having me, and peace and blessings to you as well as all of the viewers.
Thank you. Yes. So, girl, you got to come on, break down these nuggets. As I mentioned, I have a BA, MBA, and I'm finishing up a PhD now. And I had scholarships undergrad, but none of it was free because I keep getting that bill. Right now, it's deferred, but I
Right.
keep getting that bill, and I'm like, how did you do it? So, please share with the audience.
So for me, it was a matter of utilizing my network, and putting myself out there when it came to undergrad, because money is not always going to come to you. But when I had a village that helped raise me. I know we heard that saying. When you have people that know what you want to do and speaking about your goals, in addition to you putting in the work that's required, it kind of could align, but you have to roll up your sleeves. And a lot of people don't roll up their sleeves and do the work. They just expect things to come to them. So for me, for my undergrad, it was a matter of, for one, I didn't start this journey as a straight A student. As you mentioned in my bio, I was an honor roll student in high school. But starting my educational journey, I had a speech impediment. I stuttered. I had a low reading score. I went to a speech therapist, and it took me going to tutoring on Saturdays. It took me also having that speech therapist, also doing extra hours and figuring out what study methods work for me to really get the groove of what it takes. And it was additional activities that I did. So in turn, like you mentioned, my prince in my bio, with him, he's the king of kindergarten, but I call him. He has a coach that he meets with on Saturday. When outside was open prior to COVID, he was a part of a tutoring group. So it's a matter of putting in that extra work. And I realized when I was in high school preparing for the SAT, there's an unequal disbursement of information that is in different communities. I went to study for my SAT, went to Kaplan, and I saw someone a little bit taller than my prince going there for prep for SAT. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, that person looks really young. And I found out from my instructor and other people there that you can start taking those exams early. You can start doing things and pairing your highest math score and highest verbal score and putting it on college applications. But for my community and what my parents knew was like, okay, this is the set time you do it then. So I realized then, as a teenager, that some things aren't fair. So that grew in me once I started getting additional opportunities. My mom being very active in my life, my dad, both of them working in the corporate world. And their thing was go to school, go to college, get a good job, retire. For me, I realized I don't want to do that end part. Like in that time frame, I guess I work in a corporate environment. Yes, I've been recruited from Fortune 500 companies, but I'm also doing other things because that's what fills my heart. Because I don't want to be behind what I call kind of the golden handcuffs and be stuck to one thing or not have a diversified portfolio, because I want to enjoy life sooner. My dad had to retire early, and that was due to health. And then my mom did retire a little bit earlier than the date, and she was able to enjoy life, but my dad wasn't able to because all the money that he worked for and saved, he wasn't able to enjoy it. So for me, having that full ride for college, where someone I knew, one of my family members, so was like, "Oh, apply to the scholarship, see what happens." Well, it wasn't like, "Oh, apply and you're in." It's apply. It was an application process. It was an interview process. It was a math assessment process. It was a summer immersion process, because this organization was putting in money for me to go to school for 5 years. My school was a 5-year program where they paid for my tuition and housing, but then over time I found that it was a partnership with the school. So just learning these things along the way, being a part of different organizations, seeing the seeds that people were sowing into me, I realized that's something I wanted to do for someone else. And when I was in undergrad, I had the idea of, oh, I want to have my own leadership and learning development center. It wasn't until two decades later that I actually started my nonprofit, and I'll get to that. But while I was in college, it was also a matter of me opening my eyes to the world. Because, like, let's face it, when your children at home, they have you as the parents to kind of guide them and lead them in whatever direction. And while I was at college, it opened my eyes to so many different things. And I knew for me, I didn't want to go back to New York. Like, I love New York, but it's not a place that I knew I wanted to go back to because I spent 18 years there. Like, a lot of people want to go there. Great. You do that. I'll go back and see family. And I said, if I was to move back, it'd be for my parents. And now both of them are deceased. So I ended up getting into Drexel University as well as other schools, got into all my schools. And Drexel University had the full ride with the organization I got my scholarship from. And then I also had another scholarship from an organization that I was a part of their program senior year, where they had cohorts of students, but it was companies and then a college associated with the cohorts. So there I learned more about engineering because I knew I had a love for math, but also an interest in science. So my mom and just the school told me about different programs. And one thing I want to say with schools and with parents, if your child is interested in something, or if you feel like they're a little bit advanced in something, speak up about it. Because for me, I went into public schools all throughout. It was me that I wanted to go to a private high school because, just the gangs and then figuring out what to wear and stuff. And I was stylish, I had every Reebok classic 5411 with the double strap color and Air Max and all that other stuff and clothes to match and scrunchies and everything. So it wasn't that I didn't have the clothes or whatever. It's just that I wanted a more focused environment because I realized that's what worked for me. So I went to a private school for high school. And by the time of my senior year, there was no more math for me. So I realized in the beginning I was a little bit advanced. So I was taking the math classes with the year before and going to college before I graduated. And that was because I spoke up, and then also knowing that just the different things that was going on, like that, I kind of know this stuff. So me and another friend was going to Polytechnic Institute in Brooklyn from the Bronx. So it's a matter of understanding where you're at, on what where your interest lies, and then going after it, but speaking to people in that industry, or letting your desires being known, and then going after it. And that's what I did undergraduate and graduate. I know I didn't get to graduate yet, but I just want to pause and see if you have any questions.
Yeah, well, you gave a whole synopsis of the beginning stages. And I think we fail as parents because we don't speak up a lot of times about the children's, because a lot of times, like right now, children are considered having issues if they're not attentive to what's going on, when perhaps they may be bored and they may want to expound, where we keep pressing that they're there in that environment, and that environment may not be stimulating their brains. And so it's really important, as you mentioned about your young princes, that we expose them early to all the things that are available to them. And coming from inner city poverty, I know that that's not always available for most people, especially people that look like us. If you could get them out, even if it's inside the home, to open their minds to all that the world has available for them. And there's so many different programs that are out here now to help expose even the people that can't necessarily, the indigent people that can't necessarily afford it. There's so many things out here. I mean, and then just to go into the COVID situation right now, with so many parents I've seen on TV, they're at home with their children. They don't have internet connection. It's just so many things that are limited to our communities that you and I were per se privileged to have, because I had my mom and dad there too, exposing me to different things, education, and my children had the same. But for those parents that don't, what would be your advice to help them, even in these difficult times that we're going through right now, and not having access to things such as you had, or the internet and things of that nature?
I would definitely say speak up, because I know for my friends at school, they provide internet access, as well as the mayor here in DC has a program where she provides internet access. They provide Chromebooks and things of that nature. And then also when I was doing the prep programs, my mom was paying full price, but then it was a matter of another parent. They asked for assistance and they weren't paying full price. And when I was going to school, somebody's paying $50 for high school, and my mom was paying, was it $300, $600 a month? So it's a matter of not being too proud to ask. And that's why in one of my videos that I did for a nonprofit, as well as I have it on my social media sites, I did 7 reasons or 7 ways to get a college degree for free, and just things you could do. And I wanted you to raise your hand for help, because I want you to not be in a situation where you are worrying about finances while you're in school. And I want you to be at peace while you're doing it. So that's why I chose 7, because it's like there's so many things you have to think about. I chose engineering, which is like the hardest major ever. Like, it's not up for debate. And they originally told us, left person to the left and the right of you, they're not going to be there. Only one of you are going to be there. So, and that was true. You know, and I was the only African American female in my graduating class for my major when I
Hold
graduated
up for a second. See,
in
this
the
is what
2000s.
this is what I, where we are as Black people, we're always the first. 2000, raising your hand. Going back to a lot of people, fear really prohibits us from that. And just it's sometimes easier said than done. A lot of times people don't want you to know their circumstance. I think people are more avid now to at least address it when there's issues. But I'm just looking at inner city, and we're talking about some parents are not even in the home. And there are kids out there that really want to make it. They want to get in engineering. And I agree with you. That is a difficult field once you get there, because that math and that science.
I failed physics freshman year, and I say it like it happened.
Girl, I mean, because I remember sitting in a class in high school and I did not know what the heck I wanted to do. And, it wasn't that I wasn't led, from a perspective of knowing what I wanted to do from high school. And I had the influence, like my dad, he's a PhD carrier, he's a doctor. My mom is educated with an accounting background and all of that. And I have a whole bunch of educators around me, family-wise, aunts and uncles. But it's still seeing us in those professions like engineering. We don't see that in our families, especially women.
Right. And being in a male dominated field is different.
Mhm.
So I would say, if you are a student and you don't have that guidance at home or that advocate for you, speak up to someone that you trust at school, because school should have resources, or there should be programs. You have the internet at the tip of your fingers. Like, I had to get a scholarship book and look at applications back in the 90s. Like, now everything is online. And then when people subscribe to one of my listservs that I have on my site for the scholars, I share information. I just shared a $600,000 scholarship opportunity where it has 65 scholarships, and that's the large amount that they give away. And I think the smallest scholarship was $5,000 from that foundation. So the money is out there, and that was just one that's due this month. I think every month there's probably a scholarship that's due, and it's more than just scholarships that's out there for funding. But I know you mentioned a point where you didn't know what to do. You didn't know what you wanted to do when your passion lies and when you were in high school and going to college. And that's okay. That's why
I knew I didn't want to, just like you mentioned earlier, I knew I didn't want to work for somebody for the rest of my life.
Right. And that's totally fine, because college may not be for everyone. Somebody may want to start their own entrepreneur stuff, and you find mentors in that field, and you work towards that and get your experience. So in my book, I was going to say there's thought-provoking questions that you could ask at different stages of your life, because what my answer was when I was younger in the 80s, figuring out, well, what do I want to be when I grow up, is different from the 90s, the early 2000s, to even now. Because if you would have asked me back then, it was to be a lawyer, because my sorority sister, Constable Felicia Rashad, was a lawyer. And, oh, by the way, she was a mom, and I wanted to have children by 25, 27, 29. I only have one, and I went and done, and my husband and I are okay with that. So things change over time, but so it's okay to not know what you want to do or figure it out along the way. That's why there's so many programs that are out there that help you to figure that out, because you want to be happy. Like, I didn't stay behind a computer doing computer engineering. I expanded my knowledge base, because I knew that's something I want to do, from co-op experiences, from being in a position where I was just building environments and doing testing and all that other stuff, to now I'm doing more broader things, because I have the business and technical background, and I'm able to speak to someone super technical and bring it down into layman's terms to someone who's like a liberal arts major. Nothing against liberal arts, but you're not going to know about the database and this connecting to that and integration points and all of that stuff. So that's why I'm well versed, and I have my repertoire that makes me unique. But it's okay to be more specialized in things. You have to find out what makes you happy.
And I think that's the broadest spectrum of education because it provides diversity. You know, being in business, because both my degrees are in business management, I'm pursuing the PhD in psychology, human behavior. And what I've noticed is that, you know, just being in business, period, you don't have to have a degree to be successful. But I tell you what, when you got that education back behind what you know, experience, nobody can ever take that away from you. And so I always try to encourage people, even if college isn't for you, get some type of knowledge base behind you so you can have some kind of initials to say when they come to you for information or when you're up for promotion, that that lack of education does not stop you. Because
But I want to add this: sometimes education and having those degrees is the entryway in the door.
mm,
So being on and seeing the whole HR process from recruiting to the separation aspect and leading some of those efforts, it's a matter of there has to be criteria when you let people in the door and to determine from a pile of hundreds of people who is going to be that one person for that particular role. So having that degree sometimes does make a difference.
mm,
And college isn't bad. It's not for everyone. And I'm definitely saying that. But sometimes having that degree is an entry point. But I want you to be smart about getting your degree. Like I was talking with a student and uh, a consultation, and it was a matter of they don't have the grades for a particular school. And I'm like, okay, I spoke to people. It's like, see if they have an ambassador program, see what you can do in regards to the school and talking with them and see if there's another end. But then also, it's okay if you start at a community college,
mm-hmm,
transition over, because guess what? Those grades, you start at, I think, ground zero when you transition over. And I had people that transition over even into my scholarship at a later time. And they said, I think their grades were better than mine. Like I
mm-hmm,
graduated and was on the dean list at least once from college, but it's like path is your path. And I would say don't compare yourself to someone else. And I know social media is very, very hard. My thing is I try to be competition between Crystal versus Crystal and try to be a better me than I was yesterday, because social media will have your mind all over places and trying to look at someone's picture perfect reel
mm-hmm,
or Instagram feed or whatever, TikTok or whatever, and that's their highlights.
mm-hmm,
You don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
mm-hmm.
So don't look at other people and say like, oh, like put yourself down. Work on what you want to work towards. And
Mm-hmm.
do something small every day. It's a compound effect, which I remind myself every day.
Mm-hmm.
Do the hardest thing every day first because you have the biggest sense of accomplishment.
You know, and I am a proud mom of two college athletes, both of them full ride scholarships. Um,
Nice.
they don't have any debt. They did take out a couple of loans that I found out about, but education wise, their ball paid for them. Bouncing that ball paid for them to get their college degrees. I have one just graduated 2 weeks ago with his bachelor's degree, and I got one that's a senior that will graduate next year. And I cannot
Ooh,
tell you,
congrats.
as a mom, having them get you, we paid it forward with the private education. They've been in private school pretty much their whole lives, except about 3 years of their elementary school life, middle school, and high school. But it was a sacrifice, you know. And one thing when it comes to education, that's a sacrifice as well that many people don't realize, as you just mentioned as well, can be leveraged for you to get wherever position that you're trying to get in life. You know, when I'm talking to people and you're a consultant as well, for life strategy or business strategy, you know, I always ask them, what are you great at? Because whatever you're great at, that's what you should master and get more educated in it from that perspective. And we also have to realize education does not stop. These scholarships that you're mentioning, you can get them as an adult, correct?
Yes, and I did get my 2 graduate degrees as an adult after taking a gap year. Then I was working, then found out about different opportunities. And then in my book, I talk about the opportunity I had and found out an opportunity someone else had.
Mhm.
And I'm like, ooh, I can go there. But then I had to weigh the pros and cons because with the other thing, it was they required 2 years after you got everything paid for and had time off. So you just have to see what your options are and what works for your situation. Because what works for me may not work for you. So that's why I outline like the 5 hot majors from 2019, because the book did come out early 2020 in spring, May 2nd, actually 2020. And I provide resources and other books that you can look at too, because my book is to tell you about my journey and provide you with some tips and resources. But one source is not the end all be all. Mm-hmm. And granted, I want you to get my book and you order it from my
site. What's the name of it?
It is How to Get a College Degree for Free. Mm-hmm. So, and you can get it at my website, crystalgoliday.com. That's CRYSTAL, Goliday, GOLIDAY.com. It's like holiday, but with the G. People make it complicated, but it's not. Mm-hmm. So you get my book from that site and I sign it. Actually, here's my book here. And it comes in English and Spanish. And then it comes in a nice case and everything. And then I can ship it. It's great as gifts. So it's really cool. Because I wrote it because people were asking me, and I want to reach more people than I could just initially touch and talk to. Granted, I do speaking engagements, and I'm speaking about 400 high school seniors tomorrow, and then another meeting with their parents, and then another organization next week, and entrepreneurs and inventors on Thursday. So it's like a lot of different things that I'm doing and I could speak to, but I want this book to help generations to come. And people that look like me to know that it's possible. Mm-hmm. And people that don't look like me as well. Because that sense of hope can get people through some tough times. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm here for with my, monthly membership group, my consulting group. Even if you sign up for any of my newsletters on my website, and I will talk about one that you can sign up for, since this is about how to get a college degree for free, before we end, and you let me know the appropriate time. But I want to highlight that your network is your net worth, in a sense of who you know. I know you heard not what you know, is who you know. Mm-hmm. I kind of agree with that, because you need to know something, right? But it's who you know that can help you get in the door. Like referrals that come out of the wazoo, if you are the right person, mm-hmm. if you are connected with people. So my network is powerful. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have all the answers. I know a lot, but I don't have all the answers. But I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and I will get you the answer or connect you with the right person. And I have no problem with doing that, because I realize a lot of people have that crabs in the barrel mentality where it's like, oh, this is for me. I have to get this and then I'll share it. Mm-hmm. But if it's really for you, it don't matter who else go after to share it, because it's probably more where that came from.
Amen.
And we all can eat and we all can grow. So for me, as I climb, I lift. And I had a mentorship meeting today, and I'm like, she was very like standoffish, like, oh, like, I don't want to take up much of your time. I'm like, this is your time. Like, we are all busy. That's just one thing I want you to do moving forward. Understand that you're important. Mm-hmm. That your time is just as valuable as anyone else's. That even though somebody's of a higher level than you and in rank or whatever, in whatever establishment you're in, that doesn't mean that you're less important. And I told her that I was talking to my future self too. I mean, my younger self too.
Right. I've always been a talker and engager. I've never feared connecting with other people, because what you just said has been my lifelong motto. Your network is your net worth. And so I personally have been blessed to be in some positions and be in some rooms that I wouldn't have gotten into. Number one, if it wasn't for my education, and if it wasn't for that ability to be an engager. So you brought up some great points about how we have to really, as people, get out of our comfort zone. If we don't get out of our comfort zone, we won't elevate in any areas of our life, whether it's personally or professionally. And the younger people, I think they fall victim to that. And actually, I'm just real talk, some adults do too. The social media hype, what's going on social media. Now, my business is to be on social media, as it is to yours, because you're a business person and you want to get yourself out there. But there's also a way to mediate that, in order to connect with the right people, because social media has blessed me to meet people like yourself, meet other people's, and to just reach out, because you never know, if you reach out, what you're going to get. And that's getting out your comfort zone and making your network your net worth.
Exactly. And I do want to put this tip out there too. Have designated time for you to go on social media, because you can get sucked in and be on there before you know it, it's hours.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I try to do a fast every day. It doesn't always work out, but I set my timer. And every time I go on, I'm like, that's taking me away from my 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I try to see if I had 8 hours away from the internet, or basically social media, the social media sites I frequent, because it is a way of communicating. And some people from back in the day, or like connecting with you, I probably wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for social media. So it has its benefits, but I don't want to get in that comparison. At wait, is it analysis paralysis, comparing all of that other stuff, and it can mess with your mindset. And you have to be on there. If you're going to make money, make money. If you're going to be on it for social, do it in doses, because you want to be present in the.
Mm-hmm.
And too many times I see myself like on my phone, my little one's talking to me, or like, oh, let me just send this email. Meanwhile, that stuff can wait a little bit. And then I'm going to be upset if he does it to me down the line. So just be present in the moment, and then utilize whatever features you need to use on the phone. I know some people take the app off their phone, so they have to log in, and then work in power pockets. I know sometimes people think, oh, I have a goal. It's too much. I can't do it. Like, I was going to school full time, well, part time, working full time, still had a social life, all of that. And now I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a board trustee for a charter school here. I'm a founder and president of my nonprofit, Never Underestimate Knowledge. I'm an author. I have my own stuff, and I'm a corporate exec in the corporate world, amongst other things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm working on stuff. So it's just kind of like, you make time for what you want to make time for. And I think this whole COVID stay at home quarantine is a blessing, in,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really making people think introspectively on what's important to them. And I just challenge everyone to use this time wisely.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a lot of time to just slow down and sit down and not be in that autopilot. Because I swear, when school was happening, I feel like going to school, coming back, going doing some work, then doing this and doing that. And sometimes my mind cannot even be there, but I know the way, and it's just because it was a routine. But now it's like, I have my miracle morning. I get up at 5 a.m. and then I do my meditation, I do my journaling, I do my exercise, and I have breakfast sometimes with myself. And granted, I just re-engaged in that this week. I'm not forever, but I did
Right.
that before. But it's something that worked for me, because sometimes you need time with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is up, nobody else is around to realize what is best for you, because you create your own happiness, not anyone else, not my husband, not my prince, not my sorority sisters, not my girlfriends, my mommy friends, or all that. It's me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just remind people of some of those things, because sometimes we put too much in other people for our particular goals.
So that is such a great point. You also honed in on something else that I wanted to mention on. I've been telling people, my children as well, because they're at home. One of them is at home. Well, one of them just came home too. But if you during this time of COVID, if you have not done anything to better yourself, shame on you. For the simple reason, being at home, there's a quote in the Bible, and I can't remember it right offhand, but the message was from God. And in that message, it basically said is that I shelter you for a reason and a purpose. And I took that as a message. We all interpret the Bible differently, but I took that as a message. This is a time to get to know Nichelle better, to figure out what Nichelle wanted to do, how to position, how to purpose herself for the next moves that God will allow me to make. And, this time, people are stressed out. And as a business owner, I have been somewhat impacted by COVID. So I understand the stress when the restaurateur say that they can't make any money, or the person that works in there, they're shutting them down. Sit down, reflect, and I think it's unfortunate that the government's not doing a lot either. And the current education person, Betsy, whatever, Duvall, whatever her name is, I think she's made a lot of wrong decisions when it comes to education. That's another story there. Hopefully they'll get somebody in office that will, Biden's talking about getting rid of school loans, which not getting rid of them, but taking $10,000 off. Let me rephrase that.
Every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps. That's what I'm saying, because so many people are devastated by debt. Like I said, I get a bill from my school loans, and I'm like, okay, when I get out of school, I'll think about paying y'all, but I know I better pay them because they will take your check, okay? But
Sally and Fanny don't play.
you heard me. So it really is important to know that there are resources available for free education. And I always like the preference when I say free because see, people take free. Nothing in life is free because when you get those grants that you're talking about, it's going to require you to do work. Get it, okay?
And sometimes you have to maintain a average. Sometimes programs associated with it, or there's even, I know you mentioned grants. That's another funding, scholarships. There's also, internships. There's also a couple of other things that I talked about in my series called Saturday Noon Live. If you follow me on YouTube, it's also on Instagram and stuff like that. But there is a give and take. I mean, granted, with scholarships and grants, it's more like you sign up and it's kind of free money, but there's requirements to get it. But with loans, I know a lot of people ask me like, well, like I wish I would have known what you know back when I was in school, or do I talk about loan forgiveness? And I don't. But throughout my experience and sharing my journey, I've learned a lot of different things, even since when I published my book and made it to mainstream and debuted it back in May, that there are programs like, for example, a family member of mine is going through a loan forgiveness program, but they have to give a certain amount of time for their loan to be forgiven.
And that's why I say it's not free. I mean, the resources are there to make it available, but you got to do the work to get it.
And even if it is just research and applying, yes,
yeah,
you have to
that's
do the
work.
work. And I know you had mentioned, talked about God a little bit. And when I was doing one of my devotionals this morning, I'm reading the book of Luke with one of my mommy groups, and they mentioned the seed. And I wanted to share this. A seed has unforeseen power. So when you think of the Bible, like God's word and the parables are the seeds, but we're all here to grow. So I want us to think about what seed we're going to sow now, which may seem like something small. It may just be getting on the internet and typing in that word in the search today. And tomorrow it's taking the steps to see what the requirements are. And the next day building upon it and doing more research on it. But it's a matter of sowing those seeds every day. So by the time outside opens back up, by the time the year is over, or whatever the case where your time is where you want to achieve your goal, that flower, that seed that you sowed, whatever it's growing to be, which is your goal, is blossoming.
Exactly.
Feeding it every day with that water, with that sunlight, whatever nutrients that it needs, because you're putting in that work. So that's what I challenge you today. Figure out what you want. You.
And
And
so important. I mean, especially in today's time when people are going through so much depression, sit down and read a book, read Miss Golladay's book to help assist you with getting some direction for educating yourself. If not you, somebody in your family. I hear people all the time say, they're too old to learn. You're never too old to learn because there's always something to learn. You can always up level to your next level, just basically just getting more than you knew before.
yes.
I'm such an advocate of that. Even at 51, I challenge myself every day because if you don't use it, you lose it. So I challenge myself every day to journal, as you mentioned, read passages of motivation, inspiration, and even within my own family, my children and my nest egg, my husband, my nest egg here, I try to inspire them and motivate them every day. Feed your mind. You got to feed it because if you don't feed it those nutrients, as you mentioned, you can literally lose out on a lot. We want to prevail. We don't want to succumb to what's going on right now. We want to prevail and become triumphant in victory in this new year coming forward. So, Ms. Goliday, I really appreciate all the information that you've given us. Can you leave my audience with one particular thing? Now, one thing I really want to hone in because you're a woman of engineer, and as we talked about earlier, it's not easy to get into that field. So, math, science, is there something that you really, because we need to start doing those STEMs a little bit more to get more of us into the engineering and math and science fields. Is there something in particular that you'd encourage our audience if they have children, or even if they want to go back and major in engineering?
So one thing I stress is never too early to prepare your child for their future and to see where they hone in at. So my prince, he's going to start with NSBE, National the Black engineers. They have the Nesby Junior chapters, which research in your area if there's one. But they start at 5 with the Nesby Junior chapters. So with that, I didn't find out about it till college. But with that, they have the Nesby Junior chapter. Then they have the PCI program, pre-college initiative program, for those who want to transition from high school to college. Then they have the college chapters, and they have professional chapters. So just think, if you start at 5 and you start building your child's network and then seeing if they like it, because it starts with Lego League, the junior Lego League, building stuff. Mm-hmm. It's something simple as that. Engineering is all around us. So look at different programs and see what's there. There's also like Girls Who Code. There's also, I was in Society of Women Engineers. Like, there's a lot of programs. And even in one of my roles for my firm, I dealt with a lot of nonprofits. And there's a lot of different organizations out there that want to help. And it's free resources or programs, like, say, if you don't even want to go to college, just programs to prepare you for the workforce. So you have to just do that research and ask for help. Like, my information is out there. I'm Googleicious, so you can email me and I'll see what I can help you with. And I do have different programs so we can see what's best for you. But there's resources out there, and I know there's a resource that I did want to share, and you let me know if this is a good time.
Go ahead.
It was a webinar that I did, and I wanted to share with everyone. So if you sign up for my newsletter, my Scholars newsletter, by going to my website, www.crystalgoliday.com/funding, FUNDING -4 FOR -scholars, you'll get an email with a webinar that provides you with funding tips as well as college admission tips for you and your family. And in there, I stress that, and as I mentioned, it's never too early to start. It's never too early to start. And it's a matter of just continually growing your network, continue growing your resources, and putting yourself out there, but putting that work in there. Because yes, some things may seem like it falls in people's lap, stars may align, but it's something that's in them that's bringing those things to them.
Right.
You know, whatever. Like, you just have to put in the work, and it's not just one path that you can get your college degrees for free or go to get engineering degree or whatever the case may be. And you'll see once you get my book at my site, crystalgoliday.com, that there's different avenues that I've taken. And I didn't start with being that straight A student. But best believe, when I graduated from high school, I was not the valedictorian or salutatorian, but I got the most awards, and I had the funding, and I was able to speak at graduation because what I wanted, and I went after it, and I had the support, and my vision and my goals were known to those around me. So anything is possible. I just want you to just believe in yourself. And I even told that to kindergarten classes. I speak to all different ages, even spoke to correctional facility and stuff like that. Like, just set your goals and work towards it. Mm-hmm. Even if you are, locked up, you can turn your life around. Mm-hmm. I know someone who started their own business or started a trade and things like that. Like, there's options out here. You just have to just put in the work, not be lazy, and put in the work.
And stop making excuses. People hold on to excuses, and we know excuses are tools of incompetence. We have
monuments of nothingness.
Okay, we have to learn to push beyond what holds us back. And a lot of times, holding us back can be ourselves. We don't think we're capable, qualified. We think our skin tone or the white man is holding us back. Really, it's you. We got to get out of that mindset, and we must prevail. And the only way that we can prevail is we got to put in the work. It might be free. It might come to you, as you mentioned, but you got to put in the work.
And you have to show and prove too. Sometimes things are presented to you, but in order to keep it, you still have to prove. And even if there are barriers, push through those barriers. And if you're fearful, look at fear this way. And I used to have it on the chalkboard in my printer's room. Fear breaks down to face everything and rise. Mm-hmm. Don't look at it as fear as, ooh, I'm fearful. I'm going to go after it. And I'm going to conquer it. Yeah. As Crystal Goliday told me, to face everything and rise. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do that.
Amen. I love how you call your baby Prince. I used to call
we are royalty. Like,
exactly. I used to call mine too. When they were little, they're big. I have a 6'7" kid. That's my youngest. He's 6'7", and my oldest is 6'3". So
Wow.
yeah, they're walking around giants around here now. But and we also have to learn how to speak life into each other as well. I speak life into my babies every day. They both want to be professional basketball players. One is on his way to becoming one right now. And
Nice.
I said, if that's what you want to do, they paid for your paper, okay? So use that paper to do what you need to do to excel to whatever level. There are no limits. The sky is not the limit. Regardless of what we've been told, the sky is the limit. The sky is not the limit. The limit is you. How far do you want to take your skills? How far you want to take your education? How far do you want to take the assets that you've been blessed with to move through this life? So,
Amen to that. Amen to that. And I know my prince is gonna be taller than me. He's already more than half my height. I'm like, you always respect your mama.
yes, yes.
That. And then there's different like affirmations and different things out there too. I know there's a company called Blended Designs. We have a bag that says I can do anything. And they had a sale. So I got the lunchbox, I got the pencil case, and the mask. Because we have to remind them, and as you said, like speak life into them, positive affirmations, and all that, because the world is gonna beat your child down in any way they can at some point, and you have to, with them having those values in them, they'll be able to withstand whatever the world throws at them. So
Yeah,
that's
you're right. I love that. The world will beat you down. It beats adults down. So,
even our own people, like colorism or even family members sometimes. That's a totally different topic that could try to bring you down, or for whatever reason, be it jealous or competition or just not like you. I mean, whatever. It
mhm.
you have to be focused on your particular goals and go after it, and know that everybody is not going to be with you and everybody's not going to like you, even at work. You just got to do what you got to do and get the job done and live your life.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Hey.
I so agree because people, they don't like me. I've always been that one because I've never followed the crowd. I always been that one to say, "Oh, I don't know where this crowd is going. Let me go this
Mhm.
way." And even more so in my adulthood life, I'm like, if you don't like me, fine, keep going. You're gonna be all right. I'm gonna be all right too. Okay. So, I think it's just so important if we do things like this, if we communicate, if we build that network. We'll see our network in our communities, in our lives, all of that increase. So it really, when it boils down, when we look at the calling of God upon each one of us in our life, it's not just about you, it's about that village. And for somehow the village seems to have been distorted because of one reason or another. We have to bring that village back together, educate ourselves within, provide resources that are available because we know, as you mentioned, tons of them out here. Do the work and just go make it happen. Stop making excuses. That's what I'm challenging the audience for 2021.
And then I do want to say, even if you do have it, because I know there's some people like, oh, well, my child will be straight. Whatever, making however many zeros a year. If there's money out there, why pay for it?
Right. Okay.
Uh, so I just want to put that out there for people.
Mhm.
And then also just, I forgot my other part that I wanted to say, but just get out of your own way. I know sometimes we're our biggest critic, and that's me included. And sometimes other people believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Be around positive mind people, not yes ma'am and yes sir people,
Mhm.
but people that will challenge you. Because for me, it helped me being in a mastermind of people that are forward thinking
Mhm.
and wanted to see me do well because they're doing well too. That really helped me propel to a level
Amen.
that I didn't even expect myself to go to. And I'm still on my journey
Mhm.
on up. So just watch the company you keep. And then there was another point, but I'll put it in the comments or whatever. And when I think about it, because I really cannot think about it right now. Think of what it was. But just keep at it. Just
Mhm.
going, and you'll be all right. And it's going to be sometimes that you're not going to be all right. And it's okay not to be okay.
It is.
But
Mhm.
mental health, like, I believe in therapy. I have a therapist that I meet with every week.
Mhm.
And for I didn't start therapy until I had a tumultuous, crazy incident. That's why I'm a domestic violence survivor. And there's resources, and that's where therapy was introduced to me. And I stopped it. But then I started again when my second parent passed because I needed grief therapy. And then now I'm like, I'm continuing this with this. It's not going anywhere. So
That's a whole nother story we can talk about.
Right. And I just want to say one more thing, and it came back to me. There's resources out there that are free.
Mhm.
That it may not be income based. Like this summer, there were so many programs. That's how my prince got his coach, and we ended up hiring her because there was reading programs where it was. I think she's a teacher up in Connecticut. So we had a teacher for him one-on-one during the summer for free. And then there was also a program where high school students read to elementary school students. So just research, man. There's a lot of stuff out there. And just don't hold back information, share it. And my husband sometimes is like, people ask him, well, how did your prince get into this? Oh, Crystal figured it out, her network, whatever.
Sound like my husband.
Yeah, like we make it happen. I mean,
Right. Because my
yeah.
kids, they were in a program when they were in high school and middle school where they went to college programs as well. We have one here in my local area. So they started getting an experience of the college life even before they got there. But we prepped them to get scholarships. You know, we knew that they had the athletic ability to go somewhere for free.
Because even if you're saving for that 529, the 529 can go to something else.
Exactly.
Look into that, or let's talk about it.
Because actually, I was just thinking about that the other day. I said we had began to put money there, but my husband is an athletic guy as well, so he already knew his kids were going to play some kind of sport because that's what they grew up with. 2 years old playing basketball, so he knew they were going to get a scholarship because, as I mentioned, we positioned them for that. We still saved in that 529 in the process, so that money went to get them things that they needed while they were in college. Because just because you have a scholarship don't mean you don't need no money. Okay.
There's so much more than just tuition and housing and
Mhm. Yes, 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 yes. So tell us your website again, your book, where they can go. And I will also, if you will send that to me, I will put in a link in the YouTube video down here because I will share this on Facebook as well as Twitter and other platforms too.
awesome. So my website is www.crystalgoliday.com. So www.crystalgoliday.com. On there, my book is on my homepage. If you go to the scholars tab, it's on there too. But then you'll also see different things about me as well. And if anything piques your interest, definitely sign up for my newsletter with your name and email, and you'll get useful information. And then you can also contact me for if you do have a question or if you want me to work with me in some type of way for a speaking engagement or something of that nature. But I definitely want to hone in on that. Scholars, crystalgoliday.com/funding for scholars, because there you'll automatically get that webinar that I talked about with tips for funding as well as college admissions. That will automatically come to you. So I'm
And
just
your Instagram.
all my social media outlets are on there, but Instagram, I'm at Crystal Goliday. And then my nonprofit is at Never Underestimate Knowledge. And we ain't even go into that, but that's a whole nother realm. And then on Twitter, it's different. It's at Coach Chris MG, but that link is right on my thing. If you YouTube, put in my name in the topic, it's Crystal Goliday. And then LinkedIn, whatever other social medias are on there is on there. I'm not on TikTok yet. I don't think I'm gonna go on there. And there's a couple of others. There's a lot of social medias out there. The main ones are on my profile and crystalgoliday.com. You could click on them, follow me, subscribe, like, all of that other good stuff. And let's stay connected because, as I mentioned, my network is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't have the answer for you, I'll know somebody who has the answer because I'm here to help and I want all of us to win. And I'm also known as the Fund Finder for Education. As I mentioned, those on my scholars list, they just got information for a foundation that's giving away $600,000. Away that comprised of 65 different opportunities, and the smallest scholarship was $5,000. And my nonprofit gave away $5,000 last month to scholars. And all the scholars walked away with my swag. So the tumbler, they walked away with the wireless earbuds. That's in a rechargeable case. And they walked away with my planner, which are all available on my site. If you go to the Nook nonprofit link, or if you go to creatinglegaciestoday.com, and all the proceeds from my book as well as these items, they go back into my nonprofit where I provide resources to inner city youth and domestic violence survivors.
Wow, super awesome. A plethora of available tools and resources. I may be coming to you because I'm finishing up this PhD. I'm writing my dissertation right now. I do need a little bit more funding.
Nice. Yes.
Get
Let's
that finished.
talk.
Yes, so I'm looking to have that finished. It was supposed to be this year, but look, I'm not rushing. It's on its way. So that's
When it
that's
happens, it happens.
Amen. Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, Crystal. This information was very enlightening. It was also great breaking bread with you at the People Connect podcast, learning more about you and what you do and sharing with the audience. So, listen, everybody. Crystal has laid it out for us. There's no excuses. If you know someone or if you are that person that wants to continue your education, remember, education helps elevate you by any means necessary. You need to get it. If you want to be in business, in your life, or whatever, change careers, you gotta understand you gotta invest in yourself. Because if you don't invest in yourself, how do you expect somebody else to? Okay. So let's be real. Get her information as she drops, share it with your family, your friends, your neighbors, anybody that could utilize it, that you know that wants to get their degree, their college degree paid for free. So again, I'm Nichelle. You can connect with me here on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on everywhere.
Are you
I
on TikTok?
girl, yeah, I mean, hi.
I'll have to check you out.
You know what? I'm on there just to relieve stress. I do drop gems and share my thoughts and messages, but I don't use it for quote unquote business sometimes. But I do share some message on there. It's fun, and you will be surprised. A lot of adults on there. I'm over 50, so a lot of over 50. It's an over 50 tag and all that stuff. I mean, we keep up with each other, and you will find your place over there with education because the kids over there.
Well, I'm sure I will. But it's like I'm trying not to spread myself too thin. I just joined Clubhouse
Yeah,
and it's a whole nother environment. So I'm just like, remember, I'm trying not to be on social media too much, but I may check it out. Who knows if you see me over there? But
right. I
yeah,
heard a clubhouse. I have not. Somebody sent me something talking about your invite or something, and it expired. So
yes.
I'm like,
It's
okay,
in,
should I go get on that too?
it's invite only right
Yeah.
now. I would say contact that person and see if they can extend it or whatever the case may be. But it's cool. I
Okay. Yeah, it expired because I didn't answer the email. That's what it was. And the next thing I tried to click and it says your invite has expired.
It should be on your phone because I think it's only Apple only. But either way, we could talk about that. But I do want to take the time to thank you for inviting me to come on your podcast and to speak to your tribe. And I just really appreciate it and like what you're doing in regards to sharing knowledge and sharing people that you think would sow seeds and add to your community. And I feel honored that I am one of those individuals. So thank you.
Well, bless God. Thank you so much for being a part of our space. We greatly appreciate it. So until next time, again, I'm Nichelle signing off for the People Connect podcast. Make sure you have a blessed day. Make sure you take this information, the news that you can use in your life to up level to your next level. We'll talk to you soon. Blessings and peace. Take care. Bye. Take care, Crystal. Thank you.
You're welcome.